Good morning, Malta and Gozo, and welcome to another edition of Lovin Daily. I am your host, Jonathan Cilia. Today I am joined by Julian Bonici. This weekend has been another scorcher. It has been hot. I hope you've had your ACs on. If you've had electricity, we've had some big stories. So let's jump right into it. An inquiry into Malta's prison has been launched after another suicide attempt. Malta's politicians regularly harass developers for money, MDA chief warns. Botched lip fillers has led to a warning from Malta's aesthetic physicians. Police have confiscated 34 birds being sold illegally at an open market in Floriana, and the director of Maltese film LUZZU is already planning his next movie based in Malta. Julian?
Yeah, our first story is a really tragic story, a really sad story. Basically, yesterday, CCCF of Malta's prisons officials confirmed that there was a suicide attempt, a 30-year-old Maltese man, and the incident happened at 5:05 p.m. yesterday. Now, obviously, this comes just a few weeks after a female inmate died after a suicide attempt inside Malta's prison, and obviously follows quite a number of deaths that have taken place within the walls over the last few years. Now, the Home Affairs Ministry now has, pledged to act, have been forced into action, and they've launched an inquiry into what exactly is going on inside Malta's prison. Psychiatrist Anton Grek, Janice Formosa Parch, and George Grek will be the board members of this inquiry. Janice Formosa Parch is actually already on the board of governors of Malta's prison, so she's actually resigning from her role to take up her role in this inquiry. Now, what is going to look at is CCF's entire procedure, right, and particularly how it deals with people with mental health issues, with drug addiction, and particularly its treatment of new and long-standing inmates. It's actually good, to see some action being taken to some degree. Obviously, these are issues we've known about. I actually really hope that this whole inquiry actually establishes some really long-standing reform, where rather than punishment, we're looking at rehabilitation, particularly when people are committing offences caused by external factors, right, like a mental health issue or drug addiction, right? If you're a heroin addict and you're committing theft, maybe the prison walls isn't the best place for you.
This board is definitely a step in the right direction. Let's be very clear. Malta's prison is quite an old prison, it's quite overcrowded. There are a number of issues, structurally as well as internally that need to be looked at. So hopefully this board can shed some light on that. And just to note, the last suicide attempt happened just a month and a half ago. That's not too long ago. So definitely, this is a regular issue. Hopefully this board can get to the bottom of it. Moving on to the next story, if you've ever wondered how Malta's politicians and big business can get so close together, an interview with the chief of the Maltese Developers Association can shed some light on exactly what's happening. So speaking to the Times of Malta, Sandro Ketkuti spoke about how politicians regularly chase down businessmen for donations to the point that it can feel like harassment. He said, quote, some business people get embarrassed by their persistence. He revealed that about once every 2 months, both major political parties will reach out to a number of big businessmen, developers, asking for donations. Now, he wanted to make a point. He emphasized that these donations were not informal bribes. However, he did suggest whether a new model should be brought into play, maybe a state-funded model for political parties, specifically to prevent any conflicts of interest from arising.
Yeah, is anyone really surprised, right? By this is something we've actually known is going on, without anyone ever spelling it out to us, right? Sandro Ketkuti himself has actually admitted that he donates to both parties. And for those of you who don't remember, a few years ago, once Simon Busuttil, when he was PN leader, actually criticized the DB Group ITS project, and Silvio De Bono threatened to take away some funds. What more do you need to know, So now anyone out there, there's really no hope, and there's a development on your street that you don't want taking place. There's nothing you can do about it because that person is probably in the pockets of both the PN and the PL. The interview itself is actually a really interesting watch. It was Mark Lawrence Zamid's first interview with Times of Malta. The interview itself, hearing Sandro Ketkuti make logical gymnastics to justify the construction's lobby's role in the field and deflect all blame away from themselves. At least Sandro Ketkuti did admit that there was issues with planning in Malta and planning policy. However, as the biggest construction lobby and the biggest developers lobby, probably he had a hand in actually drafting those policies, so make of that what you will. On to our next story, the world of online beauty products and unlicensed lip injections have sort of been revealed by Lovin Malta. This came after one woman reached out and detailed quite a horrific experience that happened to her. Now, this woman is a regular user of aesthetic medicine, right? You know, she's never had any negative experiences, any negative side effects, until she met a new doctor on the island. Now, everything went as normal. She got her injection. Everything was all right for the first few days, until suddenly everything went wrong, and her lips suddenly became very stuffy and very lumpy. I mean, not exactly what you're looking for out of the product. Now, the woman really actually tried her best, to actually find out what was injected in her lips, and it took her a really long time to actually find out whether even that medicine was EU approved. The medicine Iron Eyes is actually turned out to be a really low-cost alternative that you can buy online. Me, you, anyone, I can just go online and buy this lip injection and end up getting it put in your lips. Now, this woman basically, really wants to raise awareness about the subject. It's really important, when you're going, particularly, for aesthetic medicine, right? This is actually what you look, it's a real commitment to do all the necessary research. As a matter of fact, Lovin Malta spoke to members from the Aesthetic Physicians Association of Malta, and they sort of issued the same sort of advice, right? Saying, it's really important that if anyone is injecting anything into your face or in any part of your body, they have to be done by a licensed doctor, a licensed practitioner, and a licensed, use of medicine. Hopefully, this really sheds a light on it, and anyone out there, if you've experienced something similar, reach out to lovinmalta.com.
No, the idea that, you'd actually make a decision to improve, the way you feel about yourself, improve a certain aspect of yourself to make yourself happier, and instead you end up, getting worse to your detriment is shocking to me. Definitely reach out to us if you've been affected as well. And if you are planning on making a decision of this sort, on lovinmalta.com we spoke to Dr. Jason DeBono, who laid out, the steps you need to be taking for best practice to make sure that you don't end up with a botched lip service as well. Moving on to the fourth story of today. 2 vendors will be charged after they were caught selling 34 birds illegally in an open market in Floriana. Now, in Malta, it's not an uncommon sight to see, people in the piazza with a small bird in a small box, and it's also not an uncommon sight to see people selling birds quite openly. The thing is, it's totally illegal if you're not licensed. And now these 2 vendors will be charged with, in fact, selling without a license. Now, the birds themselves, which are from a number of different species, have been given over to the government vet. And they were only found after the Wild Bird Regulation Unit, had an inspection in Floriana, and they came across it. In fact, there are images of the birds as well as the, the market stall, if you want to call that. You can find everything on lovinmalta.com. But yes, if you do see this in the public, if you do partake in it yourself, if you are not licensed, it is illegal.
Yeah, that's it. At the end of the day, we might just be scratching the surface, right? On this sort of illicit industry, they went on a random inspection and sort of found what they found, and quite a large find, really. I hate to be the cynic in all of this, and it's really good the police and the Wild Bird Regulation Unit are doing this work, but I wish there was that same level of enforcement and inspection when the hunting season came around, right? And a lot of illegalities happen. I know there are many good hunters, but there are also many who conduct illegal work, So I wish at least the ones who are doing the illegalities get caught with some proper enforcement come the hunting season. On to our last story. So it's all about LUZZU. That's an award-winning Maltese movie that's coming out really soon. Basically, Lovin Malta spoke to the director of the film, Alex Camilleri, and he hinted that he's already planning his next feature based on the island, but promised to offer something up completely different. So Lovin Malta actually got an opportunity to see the movie in a press screening. It's a really incredible watch. It depicts a homegrown tale of fishermen, and the hardships they face, detailing, the lives of 2 men, as one of them, turns his life to the illegal fishing trade to sustain his livelihood and his family. It's a really beautiful watch. It's a Maltese story. Really, it's really nice to see that. Sometimes, we're so Americanized or Anglified, because we're always watching those kind of movies. It's really nice to hear a story in our language, and it's a really beautiful tale about Maltese identity and what it means to be Maltese and dealing with our heritage. Make sure you tune in. It's out on 8 September in Malta. There's going to be a whole viewing. Go support local movies. There is some really good stuff happening at the moment, and the only way we're going to sustain it is actually supported by putting our asses in the seats.
It's a really exciting time for Maltese cinema. You know, just a few years ago there was Simshar, which was also, you know, related to the sea and the theme of boats and kind of a tragedy that comes with that. And what I really love is between Simshar, this film, as well as Srip, which just launched last week, you know, these films are tackling really hard subjects. They're not, you know, a Disney film or whatnot. These are serious films. I mean, you know, LUZZU was recognized by Sundance. Let's be very, very, very clear. So high quality films. What I know is on the 8th September, judging from what Julian's told me about what he saw in the film, I'm definitely going to be in line to check this out. So I urge you guys, if you are into cinema and supporting Maltese film, definitely check out LUZZU. I think that brings us to the end of today's episode. From myself and Julian, have a day full of lovin'.